is a claim which is debatable, of course. But look, I think it's an interesting choice because, in some sense, Donald Trump and Corina Machado are on the same side because Donald Trump opposes Maduro and backs the Venezuelan opposition. So it'll be interesting to see what he has to say.
All right, foreign correspondent Tom Soufi-Burge, thank you. And now to a rare royal sighting. King Charles and Prince William made an unusual joint appearance last night to support a cause important to them both. Maggie Rulli is at Buckingham Palace with that story.
The king and his heir out on a rare joint engagement. Attending a reception ahead of this year's UN climate conference, COP30. The palace announcing Prince William will travel to Brazil to attend the summit on behalf of the king.
This side-by-side appearance can serve as a general show of unity because people have been asking what did the king think about William's comments about the future of the monarchy. But fundamentally, it was really about the importance of the environment as a cause to the whole royal family.
King Charles, a pioneer in the fight against climate change, and Prince William following in his father's and indeed grandfather's footsteps and his commitment to the environment, setting up the Earthshot Prize in 2020.
We owe it to the generations that will follow us to work together, both for their future and for the future of our planet.
William and Catherine both stepping up this week.
Brianne, how are you?
With William marking World Mental Health Day, showing a more vulnerable and emotional side. You okay?
I'm sorry, it's
it's
hard to ask you questions.
And the princess out and about, promoting her work on early years development.
And Diane, we're certainly seeing a lot more of the Prince and Princess of Wales. They have spent much of the last year in private as they handled Kate's cancer diagnosis. But now, Prince William in particular seems to be opening up much more.
For years on end, hundreds of facilities in 2025, hundreds of occasions have shut down to ATC 0. Another controller has to pick up that work. We have to either delay the system, and that is something that we deal with day in, day out. So now you're getting a chance to see it too.
What message do you want to get across to people who are watching? What maybe misconceptions exist about exactly what is going on here for the air traffic controllers?
I think the first misconception is, hey, don't worry about it. You'll get paid eventually. That's an absolute farce. We want people to know that anytime an American worker, anyone, we all live paycheck to paycheck. Air traffic controllers would tell you time and time again, they're never compensated enough for the amazing work that they do. But they still go to work. They know the burden and the responsibility on their shoulders, but having to plan your life around, we don't know when you'll have income again, that's no way to live. It doesn't pay the bills. The mortgages, continue on. The debt collectors come. Gas in your car to get to work. And, oh, by the way, providing food for your family. If you have a controller that has a two-controller household, many of them married to each other, now the entire household isn't making any money. And as this drags on, we'll go to our primary job on a day or a night shift, and then we're going to have to start figuring out what to do, the few hours we should be resting. We'll have to drive Uber or have some steady stream of income until we eventually get back paid. And that is no way for our air traffic controllers or any person to have to live in something that has zero thing to do with us.
What are you hearing, and you kind of touched on this already, but what are you hearing from your fellow air traffic controllers there as this continues to drag on? Because again, there is no end in sight. There's been discussions, there's been votes, but there is no clear end in sight in the coming hours, days, or possibly even weeks.
No, I'd say they'll tell you in 4 words, end the shutdown today. That's what they'll say. But beyond that is they know the level of responsibility that they have. They're doing everything that they can to manage this stress, to manage this fatigue, to show up to work, to continue to serve the American people day in and day out and putting their safety first. And as the stress and the pressure grows, they'll ensure that they communicate what impacts that's having on them, the more challenges that this is going to create. We already had this week where our runway safety team can no longer meet. Like all the things that go on in the background where people are now furloughed, support teams are there, these actions aren't taking place, and that's going to build and increase risk in the system, and it'll be our job to call it out.
What message, and still speaking about messages here, do you want to send to passengers who are maybe concerned, worried, a lot of different adjectives there that we've heard? What message do you want to get across to them?
If you felt safe to fly before the shutdown, You should feel safe to fly today. Just realize that there are stresses, impacts on the system every single day. Controllers are picking up the workload of something that should have been addressed a decade ago. Of some, controller staffing, of equipment that is unreliable. And day in and day out, we still make the busiest aviation system run, keeping people safe every single day. These unsung heroes have your back. We're going to continue to be there for you. We're going to ensure you get to your destination safely. And as situations develop or as additional complications come to light, we'll be doing our everything possible, and we will ensure that your safety and that you land and get to your destination and where you need to be.
Going in reverse a little bit, can you explain the high stress aspect of air traffic control, the work in general, because you are in charge of these flights and making sure that everything does stay on course there?
Now, air traffic control is a bit of a mystery to people. A lot of people think they just get in the plane, it takes off, and the pilot knows where to go, and they land safely. And I first want to say a huge shout out to all of the pilots that are out there, the Airline Pilots Association, and so many others that have gone in and sent food to air traffic controllers, making sure they know that they're being recognized during this time. But air traffic controllers guide every aspect of that flight, from the moment that you board that airplane and it pushes back, and air traffic.
What's going on, everybody? Excuse me.
Get to that runway till you take off.
Morning.
They cross you through thousands at any given moment, 7,000 other flights that are going through the U.S. And every single part of that is an air traffic controller making a decision, looking to find either a better route or making sure you're not conflicting with anyone in a major area or even in a less dense area. You would be surprised on how many thousands of decisions we're doing, how many readbacks are happening. We give a clearance to a pilot, they have to tell it to us back. We ensure that every aspect of that is correct, because if it's not, well, that could be the difference between life and death. So those controllers have to be 100% of the time, and it's stressful enough 5 days a week. Well, they do it 6 days a week, and they do it 60 hours in that week, and then you add the shutdown on top of it, and that's why we're here communicating for safety every day, of saying, we're there, we're showing up, we're going to do our job, but take us out of this situation, take us out of this equation, and let us do the amazing work for the American people day in and day out.
All right, Nick Daniels, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us and helping to discuss this. We'll, of course, be in touch as we see everything play out over the coming hours, days, and weeks. Thank you again for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
And I do want to pop up this live look that we do have right here. I believe we're zoomed in very closely to the White House there. We know that President Donald Trump is going to be loading up into a vehicle here. He is going to head for Walter Reed Medical Center here, where he gets his semi-annual physical, is what we're told. Now, he is expected to potentially make some comments, but it appears that this is actually going to be tape playback. That's how you can see someone standing there completely still. But usually if we get tape playback, that means that he is asked questions and he answers them. We're going to bring you those comments if that is the case right here on Live Now from Fox. We're also keeping an eye on this image right here. This is a live look as we expect to hear from Democrats. Now, we heard from Republicans at the top of the hour. House Speaker Mike Johnson, Tom Emmer was there, Steve Scalise, a lot of people who are commenting about the shutdown. Now Democrats will do the same, so we'll bring you those comments.
I mean, they wasn't really commenting on the shutdown. Yesterday alone, they were talking about the release of the hostages and all sorts of other things other than the lockdown. They were talking about us going through hard times and they were laughing about it, but that was about it.
Maybe 30 minutes or so, so we'll bring you those comments as we always do. We do have it coming in now. It is being fed of President Donald Trump as he will. Notice is he's going to get onto the aircraft. However, it does not appear that he walks over to members of the media. Maybe he'll walk in their direction in just a second. But I want to keep this image up just to see if that is the case, because any time that President Donald Trump does speak to members of the media, reporters there, we always want to bring you those comments in full.
Is he going to speak to the press? He's going to his doctor exam today. Got to get his physical.
Let's lift up the audio to see if we can hear anything.
as the president is getting ready to fly to his doctor's appointment.
So as you can see there, he did load up so he can head out. However, at this point, looks like there are no comments. That could change, though, and we are expecting what the White House says is an announcement from President Trump at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Do have to sneak away for our final 2-minute commercial break, but so much more live news to get to in a matter of moments. We'll be
You
right
see if
back.
there's anything going on at ABC right now.
For the trivia, you actually acted with your real life daughter in this flashback scene on the show. What was it like to be there, working on this project you love, and then having your daughter alongside you?
It was amazing. Timothy Oliphant, who I work with, had worked with his daughter as well on the show. So I asked him, I said, what is it like? And he says, it's something you'll remember forever, which is true. When we actually first got to Thailand, I took her to set. Just have a look
It seems
around,
like the
and she was
ceasefire is in
"Dad,
effect
how
in
are you?"
Israel, and the
you know,
government
myself, I was like,
approves
"Oh,
the
let me
first
take this,
phase of the peace
you know,
deal. It
maybe
seems like
20
the people are
years
celebrating and they're
working hard to
happy.
be an alien, and then
Is there going to
3
be a
weeks later,
removal of
Noah comes
the
up to me and
troops
it's like,
in Israel?
I got some news. So I go home and says, Dad, what are you talking about? This is easy, you know, I mean, yeah.
Oh, very cool. Fans are now dying for a season 2. Any teasers on that? Any tea?
No teasers. I'm in the dark, just like everybody else. I mean, of course, we hope for a season 2. I feel the story deserves it, and we're hopeful.
All right, fingers crossed in my household, that's for sure. Babu Sise, so great to meet you. Thank you so much for
Thank
coming back.
you. Meet you too.
And all episodes of FX's Alien Earth are streaming right now on Hulu. I'm Diane Macedo. The news never stops, and neither do we. We have a lot more news right after the break. Stay with us.
They were talking about the government shutdown. The Senate left for the weekend. Give me a second. I got to move this along. I don't need any of these issues. Not letting me move along here. I don't know what's the issue. Give me a second. I'm over here showing stuff I shouldn't be showing. So how's everybody doing this morning? Where are you from? I'm just waiting for the commercial breaks. We get back to the live news. See what's going on.
Come on! Nurse Mary Carr Cabral Osorio has a lot of training dealing with dying patients. But none with dying sharks.
No sharks needs more water right now. He's gonna die like this.
I feel like I'm in some sort of horror movie. I'm an ER nurse. How did I end up taking care of a shark? But did you see that water from the water cooler?
It has to be salt water.
Can we get some hot in the cafeteria now and then?
Won't be enough. Swimming in the ocean is 3.5%.
What about sailing? It's almost 1% sodium chloride. Can we do that? Let's try.
What's going on? Akasha, Kazi,
I'm pretty impressed with myself.
0.5, if I'm not mistaken.
Let me go get some bags. Julie, can you come over and take
Excuse
one
me.
for me?
I'm trying to see what's going on with the news, if they got back from the break or not.
It's underway. He did post some video of the scene that we'll get you a little bit later, but do want to bring in Will live right now as he is there on the scene. And Will, what do we know at this point and what's still left to figure out?
Yeah, Josh, there are a lot of unanswered questions at this
It
hour.
was good, though. It was good.
Emergency response is still unfolding.
How everybody doing? Where's everybody from?
For multiple counties around the area happened about 7:45 this morning here Central Time at what's called the Accurate Energetic Plant. From what we can understand about this, this is a munitions and explosives manufacturing facility that works in both the defense space and also the private kind of commercial space as well. So they manufacture explosives. This is a large campus that is kind of tucked away in this wooded area that you see behind me. We're outside of gate 1 of what is a couple of gates that you can use to actually access this facility. And what we understand is that there were employees on the scene. We're trying to still understand how many people may have been affected by this. So we're trying to get an accounting for you of how many injuries or casualties we could be talking about here. And that assessment is still happening on the ground. We did see a few aerial photos just a moment ago from a neighboring outlet that just shows one of these buildings destroyed. And when you think about the force that it would have taken for this building for the explosion to be not only heard but felt for counties around, you can imagine what we could be talking about here. We do understand that this plant, that this campus was in operation at the time. but we're still unclear how many, again, victims we're talking about. A large-scale emergency response, meaning that we have multiple helicopters here on the scene from nearby Nashville. We've seen those helicopters operating in a rotation in and out. We're unclear if they're actually removing patients from the scene at this time. However, they are literally in this field that is just beyond this gate one side. We have several helicopters there, several emergency response and ambulances here. You can hear more emergency vehicles responding. So when we talk about, Josh, the initial stages of this response and how how recent this situation is, that's what we're talking about. Is we still have emergency responders on the scene. And just to give you the scale of how, we are about an hour outside of Nashville at this point. And we have people that say just minutes outside of Nashville, they felt and heard this explosion. So this is, easily one of, the most unfolding, largest stories happening right now in the state of Tennessee, because we have
An explosion happened in a weapons explosion factory, apparently.
There were a few minutes of uncertainty when we had.
We still don't know about how many people are injured.
Understand where it was, and then it was confirmed to be at this facility. You can see some of that video on your screen now. And so what we understand is you wind up these roads for quite a ways, and the way that this company has this campus kind of laid out is there are multiple laboratories, multiple buildings, and this occurred, it was limited, we understand, to one of those buildings. Again, trying to get a hold of how many people may have been inside is still something that we're waiting on from authorities. We are in coordination and in constant contact, Josh, with several of the emergency managers here in the area that are getting us some information. And as soon as we get more numbers in terms of possible injuries or casualties related to this, we will let you know. But all indications of what we're seeing and what you can see there on your screen of different helicopters arriving, different landing pads, this is a response that they're taking very seriously, and this could very well result in multiple patients being brought to the scene, Josh.
And I did want to ask you, because you spoke a little bit about the location that you're at, Hickman County, Humphreys County, that general area, and you kind of described it as about an hour or so away from Nashville. Can you explain if we're talking about a fairly rural area where there are a lot of cars, a lot of traffic, a lot of homes, or if this is more kind of quiet and not used to something like this?
It very much is a rural area, and I think that's by design. You can tell just how far back this campus and some of these buildings that may have been affected sit. And I'm sure that if you're an explosives manufacturer, you're designing a campus, this is what you want. So that seems to be the case here, is that this laboratories and a lot of these buildings are set back from the road. I don't have a home within my viewpoint of where we're standing here along this highway. However, this is not even 3 minutes away from Interstate 40. What we don't have, again, in my viewpoint here, are any signs of debris. So the debris itself, it seems to be limited to a fairly close area from where the initial explosion happened.
I was going to say it didn't look like an explosion site to me, but
What motorists would have felt along I-40, I can imagine that you're going to be seeing some eyewitness accounts throughout the morning of people who would have been driving very close to this impact zone that would have felt this. My initial thought was this could very well be an earthquake. That's how powerful and loud this was. And I was more than 45 minutes away from this scene. So this is going to be something that is going to be studied for a moment. And certainly the impact and the stories from this are still going to be coming in throughout the hours of people saying how they experienced this scene from counties away, as we're still trying to learn more about the possible explosion and injuries in this particular case, John.
All right, Will Nunley, thank you so much for taking the time to join us, and we will, of course, stay in touch. Right now, we do have First Lady Melania Trump just walking
Melania.
the podium. Let's lift up the audio there.
SCOTUS.
Much has unfolded since President Putin received my letter last August.
I never
He
noticed her
responded in
accent.
writing, signaling a willingness to engage with me directly and outlining details regarding the
Check out my
Ukrainian
shirt.
children residing in Russia.
Trying to get
Since
this
then,
hoodie off.
President Putin and I have had an open channel of communication.
Now they had an open
regarding
channel of
the
communication.
welfare of these children. For the past 3 months, both sides have participated in several back-channel meetings and calls, all in good faith. We have agreed to cooperate with each other for the benefit of all people involved in this war.
Is she Swedish?
My
Does anybody know this lady's background?
Working directly with President Putin's team to ensure the safe reunification of
Sorry,
children
give me a second.
with their families between Russia and Ukraine. In fact, 8 children have been rejoined with their families during the past 24 hours. Each child has lived in turmoil because of the war in Ukraine. 3 were separated from their parents and displaced to the Russian Federation because of frontline fighting. The other 5 were separated from family members across borders because of the conflict, including one young girl who has now been reunited from Ukraine to Russia. I have learned a lot about this matter during the past 3 months. Russia has demonstrated a willingness to disclose objective and detailed information reflective for the current situation. The Russian Federation provided biographies and photographs of each child involved in this week's reunification, along with an overview of the social, medical, and psychological services afforded to the Ukrainian children. Further, I was provided a detailed report which verified the identities and circumstances of these 8 individuals. The US government confirmed the facts contained within this document are accurate. It is important to note the original verification report was jointly prepared
What's going on? What's
by
going
the
on?
Commissioner of the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine for Human Rights.
What's up, people? What's
and
up?
Office of the Russian Presidential Commissioner for Children's Rights. As First Lady, this is an important initiative for me. It is built on shared purpose and lasting impact. My ongoing mission is twofold: to prioritize, to optimize and a transparent, free-flow exchange of health-related information surrounding all children who have fell victim to this war.
With the First Lady on reuniting
To facilitate the
8
regular
Ukrainian children impacted by the
of
war.
children with their families until each individual returns home. Additionally, I have raised concerns regarding those who were minors at the time they were displaced by the war, but have since reached adulthood and currently reside in Russia. Given the dangers of traversing this war-torn region, their safe return requires coordinated assistance. Accordingly, Russia has agreed to rejoin the individuals who have turned 18 within a short period of time. Again, this remains an ongoing effort. Plans are already underway to reunify more children in the immediate future. I hope peace will come soon. It can begin with our children. Thank you.
First Lady, are we speaking with President Putin?
All right, First Lady Melania Trump making an announcement there, addressing the nation. As you heard there, she says that she's spoken with Putin. We know that she had written him a letter, and she was talking about Ukrainian children, and she says she is now working to reunite those Ukrainian children with their families, and says 8 of them have already been reunited. More there are possible. We'll keep an update and an eye on that situation and bring you updates here on Live Now from Fox. It is now 11:10 on the East Coast, 8:10 on the West Coast.
Now we're getting close to noon.
We'll be back after this.
Connecting your digital
Uh-oh, let me switch up real quick.
If you want to turn data points into splits,
Let me see what's happening.
into prosecution as well as the appointment of Halligan. So there might be a courting effort in that as well, that this may never get to trial.
Alex Mallon, Brian Buckmeyer, thank you both. And a judge is temporarily blocking President Trump's deployment of National Guard troops in Chicago. Trump administration lawyers argued troops were needed to protect federal agents and property, but the judge says she's seen no evidence, or credible evidence at least, of rebellion in the state. The order's in effect for 14 days, but the administration is expected to appeal.
We're talking about extreme
And a strong
weather.
coastal storm is threatening millions on the East Coast with potentially damaging wind and flooding. Meanwhile, Tropical Storm Priscilla is bringing potential major flooding to the southwest. Meteorologist Jeff Banton is tracking all that for us. Hi, Jeff. So how much rain could we see on the East Coast?
Well, we can see a lot of
What is this?
It's shown that he can establish.
It's skipping channels over here. I don't know what's happening.
different
I'm trying to get this worked out.
But there's a major drop there and a big missed opportunity.
As you can see, there's something going on here. I don't know what's the technical difficulties
Chris
with
was
this.
gonna mark this one. The course of the weekend. There's also another little weak piece of energy.
I'm having issues. Well, I mean, I guess I'm going to have to redo this whole situation. So, I mean, if you will be back with me, I'll be back in a little bit to run another live. So I'm going to just cut this off real quick, restart the app and see what's going on.